Thank you, Mayor. I keep hearing words of evil, hate. I think this rhetoric needs to be toned down. I think you impute improper motives.
Please stop. I'm going to ask
and we wonder why they shoot at people.
1 second.
Playing baseball.
Please.
And we wonder why they shoot people. 1 second. Playing baseball.
And we wonder why they shoot at people.
1 second.
Playing baseball.
Please.
The rhetoric needs to be toned down. We impute improper motives because we have policy differences, and I don't understand that.
I listen to the rhetoric that comes from the people who passed this bill. I listen to the supporter of the people who come and support the people who passed this bill. And their rhetoric is racist. Their rhetoric is anti-immigrant. Their rhetoric is hateful.
Well,
their rhetoric calls people wetbacks. Their rhetoric calls people dirty Mexicans. Their rhetoric calls Mexican immigrants rapists and drug dealers.
The only words I've ever heard being said on that is from you right now. I've never heard any of those people. And the people that passed this bill, many of them are my friends, and I've never heard an evil word from them. And I think we need to realize that that's not always the case. You can have clear policy differences, and we can have those without calling people evil, hate, or racist, because I don't see that there. Maybe you do. I don't. The people I deal with and hang with, they don't sit there and say that about this.
Let me remind my colleague when he says he hasn't heard anyone's using those words. President Donald Trump referred to my ancestry as being murderers and rapists. I'm a first-generation American. My mother came from Mexico, and they were not murderers. They were not rapists, and that was from the President of the United States. So just a reminder.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Last time I was down here, I was speaking against the HERO ordinance. On that day, the mayor called a press conference in the morning, loaded the council chambers with her supporters, put all the opposition over an overflow, and so I come over here as a third-generation Houstonian, and some things never change, I guess. The state has passed a law, and I think it's in your best interest to abide by the laws. The Texas Supreme Court.
We're with you, Councilman Travis.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Bryan, I know you were trying to finish up your statement, and if you'll do just that, I appreciate that.
With all due respect, how many people have been up here to speak against this proposition? How many people in this chamber are voting, want us to vote against this proposition? That's what I'm talking about. In other words, what you're doing is you're loading the chamber up, you're giving them preferential treatment, and I've seen it happen here many times. And it's not free speech. It's called loading the chamber, and Michael Kubosh knows what I'm talking about. He was here during the HERO. And don't tell me you're not trying to do what you just did.
Well, Mr. Bryan, I wasn't. Mr. Bryan, I'm over here.
Oh.
Here, the mayor.
Oh, mayor. Sorry, mayor.
I'm over here.
Okay.
And I wasn't here when you were here last.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here now. Everybody is treated fairly. There's no conspiracy here. Okay, there is none.
So there's equally opposition and equally
whoever came to this chamber and was able to get a seat first, they sat down first. That's how it works.
Well, I got here before 2, and I was sent to overflow.
Well, sir, I can't speak. People were here at 1 o'clock today. The proclamation session started at 1:30. That's the process.
Right.
But that's what happens when you generalize. It's not good to generalize.
I'm just telling it like it is, bud.
It's important to remember that we are all immigrants. We are all immigrants.
Absolutely.
We may be first, second, or third generations. The most impassioned people are the immigrants. They do everything they possibly can to come to this come to this country. They work so hard. It's the smartest. It's the strongest. It's the people with passion to do better for their families that come here. So what we're trying to do is to do the right thing and to make it a safe place for people and their families. So that's the end of my comment.
I totally agree with you. My son-in-law is of Mexican descent.
SB 4 is going against the communities of color. So it's going against nearly 60% of Houstonians. And that's why this chamber is filled with individuals, because it's going to affect them. Thank
Well,
you.
I respectfully disagree, because just because you're a person of a color does not mean you're against this. My son-in-law is of Mexican descent, and he'd be here right now speaking much more serious than me if he didn't have to work.
Councilmember Travis.
I think that's kind of a
Councilmember
racist statement, and if you look at the
Councilmember Tra-
survey,
Well,
it breaks it down.
Councilmember Travis.
Buffy, I appreciate you being here today. I knew you wanted to respond to a few of the comments, and I didn't know if you had enough time to do that. If not, go ahead and take my time now.
No, that's just my point, is just because they're of color doesn't mean that they want to be in this lawsuit. My son-in-law is Mexican descent, and he is totally against this city spending money on this lawsuit.
I read the bill. I have it in my briefcase. I read it in detail. It is not anti-color. It is not anti-white. It is for our country. SB 4 does not discriminate. It is not a witch hunt. It's not draconian. It protects our security, protects our sovereignty.
I am employed by the Home Depot store at the corner of Bel Air and Beltway 8. The store has a chronic problem with a crowd of Hispanic day workers soliciting day work in our parking lot. These people are aggressive in their solicitation. They block the traffic flow through our parking lot. They open car doors of our customers. They approach our female customers as they are getting in and out of our cars. They fight in the parking lot, and they have occasionally fired guns.
The very thought that harboring illegal immigrants, many of whom are murderers, rapists, kidnappers, and drug and human traffickers, chills me to the bone.
It is not intended to pit neighbor against neighbor or friend against friend. It would attract more unskilled and potentially criminal undocumented people to our city. Winning this lawsuit would require Houston's law enforcement officers to break the oath they have taken. My son is a Houston police officer. People who obey the law have nothing to fear. They do not arrest people. They do not arrest people because they're walking down the street and their skin is the wrong color. That is not true.
Someone like you has sat here for how many hours and respectfully listened, and then you speak your mind and with all the freedom that you have to do so, and there have been outbursts and sounds from the audience.
I heard.
I appreciate your willingness to sit here and listen to other people's opinions and be respectful about it. I appreciate your position.
I'm a Cuban immigrant. I've been here over 40 years as a U.S. citizen, and I followed the law and the legal steps to become a citizen. Back then, there was a sense of pride, and it was a great privilege to become a U.S. citizen. Today, things have changed. People are here illegally, living in the city of Houston under the cover-up of a sanctuary city. They get free medical care. They get other government services. Who's paying for those services? It's my U.S. taxpayer dollar.
And so why did you all come from Cuba?
Because we had a hotel, and Castro took over, and they confiscated all private enterprise.
Unfavorable conditions where you were? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. We left on a 3-month vacation.
Okay. I'm just checking. We'll see why you
told the government we were doing that, but we never went back.
Okay. I'm just saying. Hate to say it, but some people didn't have it like that.
Your family were allowed to come to the United States, okay, because of tyranny in Cuba. But yet the El Salvadorians and Nicaraguans, the Colombians, the Venezuelans, the Mexicans, they are not allowed to come to this country. And for you to stand there and say that they should go another route, I don't understand. I'm confused.
And I think Governor Abbott kind of made the point clear. I think he would know what he's talking about when he wrote his comments on this. But also, I would like to talk to my council member Cohen. You were talking about human rights. Now, you have removed the right to smoke a cigarette in a public park. To me, that's a human right. As an American, I might want to fire up a cigarette. But you've taken that right from me. But you think it's okay to remove our borders and to have anybody that lands here be bypassed by law enforcement. So, to me, I'm asking you, do I have the human right to an orderly society, to the rule of law, in your opinion?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ms. Lisa Hunt. Ms. Hunt. Ms. Hunt.
Ms. Hunt.
Be the leaders we elected you to be and vote to fight back against SB4 now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Cohen.
Thank you very much for your comments. And I have to take a moment of my minute because I was kind of taken aback by the previous speaker. And so I just have to say to everyone that there is no conceivable way that I could possibly compare telling people they can't smoke a cigarette with taking away human rights.
It's no longer safe to be a legal American. It's safer to be an illegal.